So I'd love to, at this point, introduce Rob.
Yeah, hi. So my name's Rob Williams. I'm the IT Director here at the Capital FM Arena and the National Ice Centre in Nottingham. Responsible for the IT infrastructure, for the vision and direction of the business as far as IT is concerned, and we have a team here I'll talk about in a little bit. One of my personal goals is to demystify IT, and so try and push it as a business enabler and make it accessible to everyone, which is one of the reasons I quite like Meraki. So the Capital FM Arena, we opened in the year 2000, although Nottingham has a history. We're an ice rink and a 10,000 seat concert venue, and Nottingham has a history with ice. Torval and Dean trained here, and in fact there's been an ice rink on this site since 1939. And we're one of the largest music venues in the UK, one of the sort of big boys, a member of the National Arenas Association. Not at the top, we don't compete with the likes of the O2, but 10,000 seats and over 1 million visitors a year. So supporting that from an IT perspective, we have a team of 6 people, and we support all the users of the facility. So from the artist all the way through to the customer, through to clients and advertisers and everyone. And we support them for their entire life cycle. So from the point at which a customer buys a ticket, or even before that when the promoter might call up and start to talk about the IT requirements of a show, all the way through to when the show is on, the support on the day, and then pass that into pre-sales and sort of various support of customers. One of the interesting things about the arena is we're quite dynamic, so we're like 4 or 5 different businesses under one roof. We have a shop, we have the arena, we have the skating, we have all this different sort of stuff. So quite a dynamic business. So previously, I've been here 10 years, and during that 10 years, Wi-Fi had kind of grown organically around the building. We had the promoters and the artists using a series of netgears in the star dressing room corridors. We had a scanning system that we used to scan our tickets using a series of Motorola scanners. We would set up Linksys scanners to do conferences and various bits and bobs, and this was really just due to the fact that these scanners had been bought in batches for different purposes, sometimes brought in by suppliers. We also had a public Wi-Fi network using BT OpenZone, and for staff we didn't really have any provision. So if staff wanted to use Wi-Fi in a room, we would take one of those access points and sit and rig it up. So it was quite complex, and what we really wanted and what we started looking for was to simplify this. We had 3 sort of key goals with looking for a Wi-Fi partner. The first was that simplicity. So the artist doesn't want to sit there figuring out complex passwords or security or having problems with their Wi-Fi. And the promoters who are supporting those artists and setting up that show have the same sort of problem. And that was one of the things about the arena. We have these many different levels of customer, from someone who comes in to watch an event, through to the artists, through to advertisers, the suites in the corporate hospitality boxes, all using the Wi-Fi. So we had all these different networks, all for different purposes, and it really wasn't working. So simplicity was key. Also coverage across the whole arena. So we were moving to a fleet of iPhones, which we've introduced. We were introducing iPads, and these devices, we wanted them connected. So we wanted the staff to be able to use Wi-Fi wherever they were. We also wanted, and one of the key things was the sort of speed we could get stuff set up. So so with the netgears, with the Linksys, to set up an SSID was a problem. It took time, and we would have, the press might come in, or we might have a conference that came in at short notice, said on the morning of the event, oh, we want Wi-Fi, and so we would spend a lot of time, sort of half a day running around, setting them up their Wi-Fi requirements. So those were the 3 things we were looking for: simplicity, coverage, and that flexibility and the rapid deployment of an SSID. So we had a look around. There were several different solutions on the market we could look at. We wondered whether to just standardize on the netgears that we had, or the Motorola's. We looked at things like Aruba, various bits and bobs. But I attend yearly the IT Directors Forum, and actually heard a fantastic presentation from a guy called Reed Sheards in America. I can't remember actually which school he worked for, but he was over there working for sort of a college, and had implemented this system called Meraki, and had sort of talked about cloud-based Wi-Fi. I always put cloud in quotes. Personally, I'm not a fan of the word cloud, but in this one instance, I think actually, or there are a few now, but this was one of the first instances where I really felt that sort of concept was justified, which I'll talk about in a second. So I'd come across this thing. I had a look on the website, and again, a really interesting thing for me was that there was a demo, so I could start playing with it straight away and having a look. And there was a link on the site to a trial AP, which I could get free of charge. So I thought, what the hell? Got the free AP and started playing around with the demo. What impressed me, and what sort of has been hinted at and what I'll show more, was this I know it's the cloud word again, but was this this cloud-based system, was the fact that I had this web-based dashboard, I had an instant view of everything, I could access that from wherever I was, and I didn't need to install a pricey controller or anything like that to get that to work. It used Google Maps. I had full visibility across all of the switches and APs, and right down to the traffic being used, which was really quite impressive. And some really clever things. I mean, I could pinpoint the location of people, the APs triangulate the location of the person around the venue, and all sorts of stuff that just really, to be honest, blew me away. That concept of not having the hardware control on site was great, from the point of view of not having to worry about the reliance there. I had a mesh of APs. If one went down, then others would pick that up and auto mesh into that, and so I didn't have a single point of failure there. And the installation really is quite impressive. So if you order 10, 20 APs, then you literally just put the order number into Meraki. It knows that there were 20 APs on that order, and bang, they're all there in your dashboard, tagged as newly added, and you're able to start doing stuff. So we really quickly sort of realised that this was a perfect product for us in terms of that flexibility and speed that we could deploy with control. So we decided to do a phased deployment. We have various areas, as I've spoken about, that we were looking at, and what we decided was we'd do a least impact deployment. So we took the staff APs, which were there wasn't critical. There wasn't any Wi-Fi for staff at the moment. We were just putting bits and bobs around. So we thought that's a great place to start. We rolled out Wi-Fi in several areas, the level 5 offices down in level 4, and connected everyone's iPhones up, connected iPads up, and used it for us and for staff and everyone, which was a great way to really see if the product worked. I was quite comfortable with the management. I thought that was fantastic, but we just wanted to see it actually in use. That went really well. We put an AP down in the cafe, and again, people were connecting to that. We actually, interestingly, we started playing around with public Wi-Fi, which is something I'll talk about in a bit. Once we'd done that, we put conference rooms in. We then started rolling it out to conferences, and again we had the Netgears. If something went wrong, nothing went wrong as it happened. So we started rolling it out across conferences. We then switched all our scanning APs across to Meraki. We then, once we were comfortable with that, we had most of the building on Meraki. We switched the promoter across, which was the big one, so that the artists and the promoter was using Meraki. And again, just really, really successful. We didn't really have any problems with any of this deployment, and any that we did have to do with config or anything, just that speed. We used to have to go around, manually update all the APs. Now, one click and we could change the entire structure of the building's Wi-Fi, which was really, really powerful. And we did that, and we do that quite frequently. So, we can turn the APs instantly into promoter APs. We can flip them back and turn them into public or staff APs, or we can have all the SSIDs running on them, and so that's been really powerful. One of the things we've done more recently is extended that staff network and put a few more APs around the building, so that we as a business can connect seamlessly to Wi-Fi wherever we are. So the benefits, really, it's that centralized management. So, and I'll show this when I go through our dashboard. But that's a big benefit, and I'll talk about something specifically that just highlights that in 1 second. That visibility is also fantastic. So again, being able to see with one view a map of all the APs in the building, and just very quickly see if one of them's orange or red, there's a problem. And that sort of thing has helped us out quite a lot. So we've had issues on an event where certain people haven't been accessing Wi-Fi. We've gone into the Meraki dashboard and seen it's red, and it's literally just within seconds we've known what's happened. We can see that it's either been unplugged or it's on the wrong VLAN or something has occurred, and just being able to switch that straight back. So that instant view of exactly what's going on. And the scalability has been fantastic, so just plugging in a new AP wherever we want, even if we haven't got a LAN connection there, being able to take an AP, plug it into the power, and again it just seamlessly meshes automatically and extends the reach of that Wi-Fi coverage has been really good. And we've done that again a couple of times where we haven't been able to get hard lines out to places, but we've just shoved an AP there just to boost that signal. And that sort of time saving has been really powerful. So an example of which is we had an event on, and we have a guy called Brains. He's the Capital FM here. It used to be called Trent FM at the time. He's one of the producers for their sort of morning radio show. And I was actually in a pub and had a call from the marketing department saying that Brains had turned up on site, wanted to do a piece on this event that was going on, hadn't planned it. And normally with the Netgears that would have been a case of sending someone in, so I would have had to come in and reconfigure an SSID on the Netgear, set everything up. What I could do, and what I did do on the phone, on my iPad, in the pub, was set him up an SSID, give it, I called it Brains Wi-Fi, gave it a funky password that I won't repeat, passed the phone over to him, told him what the setup was and everything, and he was on. And actually then he mentioned that on the radio broadcast, that he was so impressed, that we'd given him his own Wi-Fi and he was going on about it all the time. So that's kind of level of being able to set up an SSID remotely from wherever you are within seconds really has made a difference to us. The automatic firmware updates and all of that side of things mean that any of my team can just pop in, check things are working, or set up an SSID or change things around within seconds. And it really is seconds, that's genuine.
This particular occasion was on your birthday, wasn't it, Rob?
It was, yeah, it was actually on my birthday. I was sat in the sun in the garden of a pub called the Trip to Jerusalem in Nottingham. So yeah, it was quite funny. I won't say what state I was in that time. Yeah,
let's leave that.
Meraki, you can use it drunk. That's not a good idea. So our results, it really is. It's a fantastic platform, and I'm a great ambassador for Meraki. I quite enjoy showing people it. It's really powerful. For us, it's been really useful as well. So I mentioned about the public Wi-Fi. So we were using BT OpenZone, and we didn't really think that Meraki would be a replacement for BT OpenZone. But within a few weeks of using it, we sort of stumbled across the fact that with Meraki you can click a button and set up paid public Wi-Fi. Now, we've spoken to a lot of other providers, and there's a lot of ways you can do public Wi-Fi, but usually they're sort of a two-part system. One of the things we liked about OpenZone was they take all the payment, they do everything, and they pay you. And actually built into Meraki is this same concept. So we tried it. We just clicked the button and set up public Wi-Fi, and in one sort of half-hour session, we got public Wi-Fi across our cafe and various places around the building. And then the way it works is that they pay by credit card, money goes to Meraki, Meraki take a small cut, and then they pay you monthly. So we tried this, and all of a sudden we started having money come in. And actually within a matter of a few months, we were getting more money from Meraki than we had been from BT OpenZone across the building. We actually ended up in 1 month taking more money than we'd taken from OpenZone the previous year. So that was a really, that wasn't part of the project, that was just something that happened, and we really thought that's quite good. So we were quite impressed with that. We were impressed with the flexibility, so we started looking at switches. I'll show you some switches in a minute. And we're now looking at mobile device management as well. The support, as I say, is simple, and I really enjoy showing people Meraki because it's actually quite fun, and that sounds really dreadful, but it's really true that the product itself is really easy to use, and it makes it a pleasure to support. And the result for us is that across the building now, wireless is ubiquitous. It's transparent. People can connect everywhere, and that's a really powerful thing for our staff.
Is there a comparison, Rob, between what you had before and the kind of feedback you had from staff compared to what it is now?
Well, I mean, yeah, the comparison is that we couldn't put wireless in for staff, so so people didn't have it. It was just too much of a support overhead to start throwing disconnected APs all around the building. One of the things about this building is although it's not it's quite a big building, but it's it's like a rabbit warren, lots of concrete, lots of, so we looked at setting up full staff Wi-Fi, but just decided that we didn't have the resource to do it. So the comparison is now, people are happy because they've actually got it. So
Great.
So yeah, so in the future, we're now looking at the possibility of a high density deployment. So what we'd really like is to have the 10,000 people in the bowl able to use Meraki. There are challenges around that, and we're speaking to Meraki at the moment. But that's certainly something we'd really be keen to do. We want to be the first 10,000 seat bowl that's exclusively Meraki. This year we're also going to migrate all our switches across. So we've moved a couple across from ProCurve, and we're really impressed with the switching technology and again the analytics we can get off that and the flexibility. And we've been playing around with the mobile device management piece. We've got about 20-30 devices on that, and we're going to look at pulling across all of the iPhones, everything across onto that, with the possibility we might even replace Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager. Certainly the mobile piece of it with Meraki.
So what I'll do now is I'll actually give Rob control, and he can share his screen and actually take us through the Capital FM Arena's dashboard. So let me just do that now.
Okay, so can you see me?
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay, so here's the front sort of screen of Meraki, the overview screen. And so what we have here is a list of all the APs in our building. And I can sort of configure this screen the way I want. So if I want to show the actual types of APs that we have, so mostly these MR24s, but we have some 16s, and there's a 12 somewhere in there. So we can switch it that way. We can also do things like show the usage, so the bigger the circle now that's appeared, the more use that's getting, the more it's downloading. I can also switch on things like showing the number of clients currently attached to each of those devices. Another interesting thing about this particular view, we're a bit different because we're not, we've got a lot of floors, so 5 floors and a lot of different sort of structures, so that looks a bit messy to me. So what we can do with Meraki, which is quite nice, is actually upload our own maps. So here we go with a map of level 1. And so this is our own map that we've loaded in. So we've got the Google Maps option, which is brilliant, but we've also got this ability to bring in our own maps. And I can jump through then the levels, and for me, when we're managing things, it's a little bit more structured because it means we know we can instantly see exactly where something is. So that's quite a powerful tool. I'll drop back to the map view. So what we'll do is have a look at an AP. We can hover over these APs and see what they're called. I'm going to actually look at one of the staff APs, so the level 5 meeting room, and I can double click on that. If there was an error or a problem with one of these APs, it would be in red or yellow depending on the severity of the error. So again, just straight away you've got that very quick view of exactly what's happening. So here we're looking at one AP, and again some really clever sort of stuff here. So for something I really like here is here's the information on where this AP is connected to. So it's pulling the information off the ProCurve switch, saying that this is our cab H PoE switch on level 5. It even tells me which port it's connected to, and I haven't had to put that in there. That's using a switch protocol to detect which port the Meraki is plugged into. Telling us how many clients we've had on it. 40 clients have transferred 5 gig in the last day. And I can actually see some of those clients now down here that are currently connected. Another nice thing with Meraki, I can, with all of these sorts of views, I can add extra columns, I can resort, and so it's quite customizable. So if I have a look on here, this actually here, Rob's MacBook Air, is my actual laptop I'm currently using to do this presentation. So here's my Air, and this is the kind of level of information we can get to. So up here, it's actually triangulated the position of my MacBook, and it's pretty pinpoint accurate. I'm actually in the room next to that AP this way, so it knows where I am. And it's the more APs you have, the more accurate that gets. We noticed as we've put more APs down. Here it's showing my traffic. and what I've been doing. I can look at that over the last couple of hours. I can look at it over the last day or week, and it splits that traffic down. So some really valuable information there and useful for us. We've had instances where the promoter's been complaining about the speed of their network. They have a separate network, and we've gone onto here, had just a quick look through, seen that one particular client is absolutely hammering the network. Gone and had a look and seen that that was peer-to-peer traffic. So they were using BitTorrent or something similar to download stuff. I don't know what stuff. So the two things there. One is that we then could go to the promoter and say this was the issue. Two is that we actually could use the firewall capabilities on Meraki to bar all peer-to-peer traffic. So actually within Meraki you have the ability to add rules and do some quite clever layer 7 stuff. So so this is looking at a particular AP. If I had a look at all my APs or a particular client. So here's another really nice view going across all of my APs, showing this bar, which if this bar shows the last, I think it's the last 24 hours of connectivity, and if this AP had disconnected at any point or there were any problems, I'd have a little red area in this bar. So quite useful if you get called in and there's a problem, or you connect and you can see that there's been an issue, but now actually it's been resolved. We have the names of all the APs down here, and another really nice Meraki feature is this tags feature. So this is the ability for us to tag any AP with a certain tag. So for example, you'll see here we've got tags of office and a tag of public and promoter there. And so I can tag all of my APs that serve Wi-Fi to the offices, and then I can set my SSIDs up and say, right, I just want this one on the office tag. So rather than have to go into every AP, for instance, if we wanted to switch everything over to the promoter and remove public, we could just go into the SSID and say, right, just take this off all of the public APs, and then with one click that SSID is removed from all of those APs, or take it off all of the promoter APs, or however. So we use tags quite a bit here and find it's a really flexible way to change the config of the building very quickly. By just removing an SSID off a couple of those tags, everything changes. We have some nice stats here. We have the usage of the AP to clients, and again, as I was saying about the customization, I click the little plus here. It shows what I can add to this particular tab. So if I wanted to simplify things, and actually if I'm not at all worried about usage, I can take all of these usage stats off and they're live. All the usage stats disappear from this particular view. So you can set that up quite nicely by user and sort of start to get to a point where you've got it set up exactly how you want it, which is really really powerful. Again, if you want to, you can start throwing on. I mean, we've taken the gateway and the mesh stuff off because we don't use gateways that much, but again, you can put all that stuff on there. Most of our APs tend to be, rather we don't use mesh that much, most of our APs tend to be gateways. The only reason we leave that one up there, that mesh speed, is just so that we can see if there's been a problem. So it will just mean that this column here becomes very easy to look down and see that everything's a gateway. If one of those actually showed a mesh speed, we'd know that it's lost connection to the network. It's auto-meshed, and we can have a look at it. At that point, it would go orange anyway. So really quite powerful here as well. We can go into the client's view. So another nice view. This is rather than worrying about which AP people are connected to. This is just showing every single client and some nice things, so we can sort this by our SSIDs and just get a good feel for how many people are connected to the NIC, which is our sort of staff Wi-Fi networks, how many people are connected to our guest Wi-Fi network, how many people are connected to public and production. So there's some really nice single views over stuff here. We can just go in very quickly and get a good feel for the shape of the network at the moment and the current connectivity. And we can change these. So I'm looking here at the last day. I can drop this down and just look at the last 2 hours. I can look at the last week or the last month. And so if I drop that out actually to the last month.
You can also search by client device type as well. So the layer 7 client fingerprinting we have going on, so you can actually isolate, say, iPhones,
Yeah,
iPads, or even Android devices.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean it's quite interesting when you start clicking on things. It will tell you what device it is, and yes, you can say just show me all of the iPhones on the network right now.
Yeah.
So you can see here over the last month we've had 820 different client devices connected. So there's some really nice features there, and I can export this out as well. So if I want to do some some really in-depth analytics, then I can download that as a CSV and start to look around. And again here, quite nicely, if I go in, I can get some good views overall. So here's a nice view. This is application traffic, but this is across the last month, all clients, all SSIDs. So I can start to see, if I was to sort this by usage, what my highest usage things are. So BitTorrent there right at the top, 33 gig, and there are certain networks that we allow peer-to-peer on, and there are certain uses within the business that the promoter, for example, or the crew might use that particular tool, iTunes, miscellaneous web, YouTube, etc. So really powerful, and I do really like this kind of simple view that you can get very quickly on things. What's nice is if I highlight some of this traffic in the graph above, you'll see, I don't know if you can make that out, but as I highlight stuff, it's kind of changing the graph. So you can see there the red on the graph above is showing, the graph is the total usage, but the red is showing you just the iTunes usage. So really clever, really clever. What we can do, if we just have a look in the config of things, so to set stuff up, I have here a list of our SSIDs, and if we want to set up a new SSID, I can click and show all the SSIDs. So you can see that we use it quite a bit. I can go in here, I could enable an SSID within seconds. An SSID I've already got set up, it's quite straightforward to do, but also to create a new SSID is really easy. So if I pop in here, you can see the settings for instance, the staff SSID. It's just really clear, simple setup. Set what I want, set what encryption I want, go in. Some nice features around splash pages, so I can just have it just directly connect, or I can create a custom splash page that can have information about the arena on it for the public, or it can have all sorts of bits and bobs on. I've got different kinds of authentication. I can allow Meraki authentication. I can allow Facebook authentication through Meraki, which is a nice new feature they've added. I can set up group policies within Meraki and assign that, so my peer-to-peer blocking I can have on certain SSIDs and not others. And something we use a lot, something that's really powerful, is this VLAN. So I can tag the SSID to a VLAN. So our scanning that we talked about, our barcode scanning that now runs all through Meraki, we have to have that on a separate VLAN, goes off and it runs through a separate system. So what we do there is, we have one particular SSID that pushes through to that particular VLAN. And actually most of our SSIDs, we use VLANs to manage them. In terms of the promoter and the artist and all that sort of side of things are all in separate VLANs that then route across to separate gateways and separate firewalls. So really clever, and you can sort of see from this, I can go in, set this up, I can do this from anywhere, click a button and then roll it out across all of my SSIDs, make sure that it's only on the SSIDs that I want. So on that previous it's not here. On this tab here, SSID availability, I can say, so for example, NIC, which is our staff SSID, is only available on APs with the office tag. It's available throughout the day. It's available every day of the week. So some clever things there if you start using tags and then start using these time slots, then you can have SSIDs that only appear at certain times in certain areas of the building. And again, because of those tags, you can just change tags or change the SSID availability and switch things around. So really, again, really quite flexible. I do enjoy showing people this, and it's a shame you're not all able to have a natter, but it's really, really flexible. So we can go into the group policies, for example. So we can do things, we can set up group policies that bypass the firewall that then we can do tests with. This is where we can set up, we've we've not done too many group policies. We've done more specific policies on specific SSIDs. This is where you can set in your firewall rules and various things, and all sorts of different stuff. One of the issues we've had in the past is just about the radio settings and about the fact things like being able to vary the transmit power and that sort of side of things. And so this is somewhere where we tend to come in on a big event and move things around and change things. But you have the system will look, we'll see what's out there, we'll find the best channel to sit on, we'll find the best power to transmit on. But you have the ability to go in to every AP individually if you want, and change things like the transmit power, change channels, etc. And again, you can access this from anywhere. So some quite nice stuff we've done there, where we might have had an issue on a certain event and we've lowered the power down to try and rein the AP in a bit so that it's going to a specific suite holder or a press up in one of the suites in the arena.
Yeah, there's also channel utilization, Rob, when you were looking at the APs that you can perform to really take a look at any given time what the channel utilization is like in the area, so you can change according to that.
Yeah, there's some quite nice things you can do around the air marshal side of things as well, where you can look at so this air marshal is kind of Meraki's security piece. So you can whitelist APs, you can look at channel utilization, you can look at rogue APs, and again it's quite nice because it will identify them. So this is looking at 2 rogue SSIDs currently on the network, which 9 times out of 10 are people setting up little personal hotspots on their phones or something like that. And so because it's got the triangulation, you can actually tell where they are, which is quite powerful. So I've got a feeling there might be something going on in the arena. There's someone in the middle of the bowl setting up a rogue AP and that sort of side of things. So yeah, there's some really nice features around channel utilization, around other SSIDs and rogue SSIDs as well. One of the nice things as well, if I just pop back the overview, that's quite useful is I like this. So one of the things Meraki does that's quite nice is to have this little I wish this page would. So on every single page on Meraki you can go in and say, I'd really like this here, or I'd really like that here. And actually 2 or 3 of our requests have been implemented, so it'll seamlessly update, pop up, you get a little message to say there's new features added. But the fact that you can feedback throughout the whole system, and actually the fact that the engineers will then respond and actually quite a lot of the time implement what you're sort of talking about, I think is quite powerful.
Yeah, I mean, we use that quite significantly as kind of live feedback from the marketplace to really shape where we add new features. So we use it as a real-time gauge to what the market wants.
Yeah, and I've got first-hand experience of that. That the stuff that we've suggested has been implemented. So that's really good. There's a lot of diagnostics as well you can do. So if you've got a problem, then you can go into a specific device. Again, I'll just use mine rather than anyone else's. So it takes it a little bit further than just standard Wi-Fi stuff. So if I'm on a client and I've got an issue, then I can do things. I can ping that client. I can do trace routes on certain bits. I can test on an AP whether it's connecting and what the speed it's connecting out is. So if I pick an AP here, then I've got some stats here on the round trip latency, on the usage, on channel utilization by IP. Here's where I can do a trace route. And just some simple things. I can blink the LEDs on the AP if we've got 2 or 3 in the same area, reboot it, and all sorts of bits and bobs. So there's some quite nice diagnostics as well that we've used quite a lot, and a full event log for every AP, which again just allows you to go in, because a lot of the time we've had issues where by the time we've got here, the issue's been resolved. So it's quite nice to be able to go back in and have a look at that.
Rob, I don't know if you guys have added any firewall rules or any traffic shaping rules. Can we take a look at how that's done?
Yes, yeah. So you can go as simple or as complex as you want. So it's got some quite nice layer 7 rules. So I can just go in here quite quickly and pick services Meraki have preset out. I can do it by IP range, by port, by host name, but some quite nice stuff here. So I can just literally go in and pick a specific thing. So if I want to bar gaming or file sharing or email, etc. So I mustn't save that. And then you can add layer 3 firewall rules here. So we can deny to port, we can deny UDP, and go in and put in destinations. So again, just really, really simple, really, really flexible. And here as well, we can do traffic shaping rules. So you can do this by SSID. So we have separate rules set up for every SSID. And you can set traffic shaping. So you can give a per client or a per SSID limit, which again has been quite useful for us when we're looking at public Wi-Fi in various places and not wanting them to cause issues. So yeah, really, really simple stuff. Really powerful.
One of the other interesting things you can do is, rather than actually block the likes of video and music traffic, you can actually allot how much bandwidth you'd like to go to those applications per device. So you know, in some applications or environments, you know, it might be perfectly fine to block video and music, but sometimes you may want, you know, for your guest network, for people to be able to browse that. So you can really control how much bandwidth goes to that, and not too much of the your ADSL is used up by guests.
Yes, which is a perfect one for us in terms of the public. You know, at a music venue, a lot of what they want to do is share pictures, music, and that sort of side of things. So we want them to do that, but those particular services are quite dangerous to run riot. And so yes, we can shape those particular services, which is powerful. So, so I don't know how we are for time, Imran. I don't know if you want me to have a look at the switch.
Yeah, we're running a little bit tight on time. So what we'll do is let's finish off the presentation, and then we can maybe look at some specific questions, perhaps if we get at the end.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, go for it. Let me pass it back then.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that, Rob. It was very interesting to learn all about how you came to hear about Meraki and how you got your network set up.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Pleasure.
No, great. So Rob mentioned this earlier on about how he kind of first got to experience Meraki. So we have a really great evaluation program where you can try any one of our products on your network absolutely free of charge. So if anything that Rob or myself have gone through today has sparked an interest, you know, I can't recommend this highly enough. The proof is really in the pudding. So you can try out any one of our products absolutely free of charge, and there's a complimentary technical assistance available should you need it. So you can sign up for free trials at meraki.com/eval. So let's just take a look at the product families that we've been talking about today then. We talked a lot about the wireless APs. These come in 5 models. They include indoor and outdoor APs, and they vary from really very high performance APs suitable for very high density deployments through to value price models. We use enterprise class silicon only, so including RF optimization, PoE, voice video support, and we've got lifetime warranty on all indoor APs. So some of the key features of our APs is, you know, you can deploy BYOD policies, you can have application traffic shaping, which we had a look at in the demo. You can deploy guest access in a couple of clicks. We've got enterprise grade security, some advanced security features such as WIDS, WIPs, and also location analytics. So we've also got within the range what we call security appliances. So I kind of colloquially refer to our security appliance as almost the Swiss Army knife in our networking toolkit, really. Essentially, it does about 5 boxes worth of things in one. So we've got a site-to-site VPN, a client VPN, WAN optimization, NG firewall, content filtering, intrusion detection, all really crammed into this one really easy-to-use box. They come in 6 models, scale from suitability for small branches to extremely large campuses, and they provide a complete networking security solution in one single appliance, really. So finally, we have the MS access switches. So this is something that I believe the Capital FM Arena is expanding their deployment of. So some of the features here are you've got voice video QoS. We are the very first switches and the only switches on the marketplace to actually give you layer 7 application visibility. You've got PoE or PoE Plus on all ports, and also remote packet capture and cable testing is possible. Cable testing is one of actually my favorite features on this. It's really great to be able to perform a cable test sitting thousands of miles actually away from a switch where traditionally one would have had to been on site snaking around all these Ethernet cables to find the particular cable you want to perform a test on. So we've got four models in the range, 24 and 48 port with PoE options available. Again, it's all enterprise class performance and reliability, so we've got lifetime warranty on all of our switches. And finally, Systems Manager, our mobile device management service. So with the use of this, again, it's integrated into our web-based dashboard, so there's everything in the one single pane of glass. You've got centralized app deployment for the likes of Android devices, PCs, Macs, and also iOS devices, iPads, iPhones. You've got device security, so you've got management of client devices. So say, for example, you're deploying it at a school or a college, and one of these devices goes missing or it gets stolen. You can very easily lock the device or even erase all the data on the device if there's anything confidential. So it's all cloud-based, so there's no on-site appliances or software required, and it works with any vendor's network. And the best thing about our Systems Manager mobile device management service is it's 100% free, so anybody can try it out. You don't need to have any of the other products installed. You can just try Systems Manager out. It's completely free of charge, so you can sign up Systems Manager at meraki.com/SM, and it's really a great introduction to really get a feel for the dashboard as well. And it's free, so you can deploy it to your personal devices, get a feel for things, and you can then expand it out to your organization's network or devices. It supports thousands of devices, so there's no problem with capacity at all. So we are at the end of the presentation now, and I know Corey's been very busy answering all your questions, so I'm going to be quiet for the next couple of minutes, let you guys ask any final questions that you have, and perhaps share some of the ones that have been directed towards Rob or myself. That's a great question here from Brian, Rob, asking about is connectivity seamless throughout the arena, as in as you travel between access points, with the users see any disruption?
Yeah, no, it's seamless, unless you drop out of range. But I don't think there's one or two dead spots. But yeah, if you're jumping APs, then it makes no difference. You can watch a YouTube video, and it won't drop for a second. So yeah, it's quite nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So if all the APs and Cisco Meraki devices will provide seamless kind of roaming between the APs.
Yeah, totally. While you're just looking at another question, just one thing to say to everyone as well is that
sure.
So we use the switches and the mobile device management as well, and that same level of client data you get on the switches as well, which is really, that's, I've never seen a switch do that before, so it's really powerful.
There's a question here, Rob, asking how many simultaneous users can connect to one AP? I know from my experience, but at the Capital FM arena, how many of you guys had?
It's an interesting question. I mean, a lot of it here depends on what they're doing, but we've had around 100 connected to one AP that I'm aware of with no issues. I think it's tricky because people here are trying to do quite a lot, so it very much does depend on traffic. It's something we're looking at the moment, actually, to do with the high density deployment, to try and see how far we can go with it.
Yeah, I mean, typically our APs are built to, have simultaneous clients connecting, over 100 simultaneous clients to one access point. Again, it's going to depend very much on your particular environment you're deploying it in. So again, I'd very much encourage you guys to have an AP on trial and see how many clients you can simultaneously get onto it. I actually was at a college not too long ago where they deployed Meraki, and we were there during lunchtime. So we logged onto the dashboard just out of interest to see how many clients there were on during lunchtime, and we found an MR24 serving about 130 plus clients, all kind of using the likes of Facebook, YouTube, etc., and it's perfectly fine churning away. So yeah, it's perfectly fine, 100 clients.
Yeah, that's a number I'd say is 100. I mean, we certainly frequently have like 50 on everything. On an event, we have issues with just general background Wi-Fi causing interference, so it's a bit more tricky. But yeah, 100 is what I'd say.
Yeah. There's a question here asking about what happens in the unlikely event that connection to the cloud is lost. That's a great question, actually. So I was talking earlier on about how all of our products are really hardware products are really built for the rigors of cloud management. So we've got extra memory and CPU built into all of our devices. So anytime you do actually make a change onto the on the dashboard, this gets stored onto the access point if you're making a change to the wireless APs. So in the very unlikely event that you do lose connection to the cloud, your local area network A would still function, and B, all of the policies, everything that you'd set and configured would still be active as it's stored onto the device itself. So yeah, hope that answers the question.
Yeah, we've got first-hand experience of that as well. We've lost the internet at one point, and all the Merakis carry on working, and everyone can access all the internal stuff perfectly fine.
Great. There's a question here from Jesse for you, Rob. How do you guys split the traffic on the APs? Do you have two SSIDs, one for public, one for private? And do you guys have two Ethernet ports that you use the VLANs on? Not sure if that made sense.
So yeah, so we have one Ethernet port, and we have just tagged VLANs on that one Ethernet port that then that we use that to then route the traffic to two different destinations via two different firewalls and out to two different lines out of the building. So our promoter line would go in on a tagged VLAN port, shoot off to the promoter 100 megabit line, and our public or our staff line goes on a different VLAN tagged port and shoots off in a different direction. So that's how we split it. We currently don't offer a massive amount of public Wi-Fi in the bowl, so we're looking at maybe other ways of doing that being a bit more clever about the way we do that. But that works perfectly okay for the moment. I just say to everyone as well, if anyone actually wants to just mail me or tweet me anything at any point, then I'm at Rob Williams on Twitter, or just check out robwilliams.co.uk, and I'm happy to answer any questions outside of this as well.
Great, thanks for that, Rob. Time for one final question coming from Brendan asking, do the APs automatically flip over to mesh mode if they don't have a gateway access? Yeah, absolutely they do. So it's actually one of the things that Rob was talking about earlier and really helps with providing uninterrupted coverage to clients. So in the unlikely event that any one of your gateway access points was to lose connection to the gateway, it would automatically flip over to becoming a mesh or repeater AP, still able to service clients as well by borrowing connection from its neighboring AP. So Meraki access points are always talking to one and each other, finding out what's going on. And anytime that they don't have a connection, they're talking, communicating, and able to mesh with them automatically. So that happens without you needing to do anything whatsoever.
It's interesting. It actually caught us out the first time we started using Meraki that we'd put 2 or 3 points in and hadn't realised that we hadn't patched them properly, so that we put them to dead ports on the switch, and everything was working perfectly. And we were using it for a while and wondering why there was this little symbol and why they were this funny colour. And then we looked and saw that they'd actually all meshed. They weren't all patched. So so then we patched them all, but it was always too good. It was kind of working without it being properly set up.
Brilliant. Well, we have run a little bit over time, so thanks for everyone for bearing with us. As Rob said, if you guys have any other specific questions, please feel free to get in touch with Rob or get in touch with us, and we can put you in touch with Rob. But personally, I'd love to thank you, Rob. Thank you very much for presenting today, taking precious time out. It's been a pleasure hearing about your deployment, and I don't know if you have any final words that you wanted to say.
Yeah, no problem. There's certain pieces of technology that I'm always happy to push, and Meraki is one of those. It's just really refreshing to use. So yeah, no, anytime.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. So from myself, Corey, Sophie, and Rob, thanks very much for joining us today, and we hope to speak to you sometime in the future soon. Thanks very much now. Bye-bye.